up, mi gente? How you guys doing? Um, it's Thursday morning today, and I'm currently walking into the lab. So it's essentially the day after from the previous episode that you saw, and we're going in to do some more work. Hopefully today will not be 9 or 10 hours like yesterday, which literally nailed me. And I'm hoping today will be something like 5 hours, 6 hours, and then maybe hit the gym. So today we got shoulders and biceps. As you probably noticed by now from pictures or from the physique update, I wouldn't say my shoulders are my best part. Like, my shoulders lag a lot. As a human, I was born with a good chest. I was born with a fairly functional back, but my shoulders are not that great. And ever since I had that accident with my shoulder in swimming, it hasn't been that amazing. Anyway, it's a work in progress, and I just want to show you guys like that I don't have I have my weakness. I've got quite a big weakness right there, and something I'm working for. And I prefer to show you guys how I may take my weakness and I make it something good. I'm just showing you from the first moment how good I would be looking in 2 years' time if I were, to work out every day and to be perfect with my diet and stuff like that. Anyway, and also I think later on in this video I want to tell you guys a bit about the statement I made yesterday regarding whey protein. I know whoever saw it would have had a bit of an uproar, be like, what the hell is he saying? He just takes supplements and that and that. But no, that's not true. There's a biochemical explanation and proof that whey protein is the most efficient form of protein when it comes to muscle sparing, muscle growth, and fitness. So I will get into that. But yeah, and when I mean whey protein, guys, don't think I just mean shakes and whatever. I also mean milk, I mean yogurt, I mean cottage cheese, I mean any form of cheese. So yeah, anyway, I'll see you guys later. Gotta go grab a coffee and get to the lab. Let the work begin. What's up, team? And I'm so happy to be once again to talk another workout. Today we're going to be doing some shoulders and biceps, and I'll be focusing on four exercises of shoulders and 2 exercises of biceps. So we start off classic with the shoulder press. That's the pretty much the standard, the gold standard of shoulder workouts. I'm starting here with a warm up of 20 kilos per arm, and then I move on in the next clip, as you'll see, with 26 kilos per arms, all the time doing approximately 8 reps. The volume is a bit lower here. I'm somewhere between the hypertrophy and the strength range. I'm doing 1.5 minutes. I'm still trying to keep some tension on the muscle at all times. Of course, at a less, essentially time under tension that you will see later on. But still, I was happy to see that I could do 26 kilos. My maximum is approximately 27.5 to 28 kilos, so 55 pounds. And here we go for the side laterals. I'm doing approximately 15 normal reps, followed by 10 partial reps. Sorry, somewhere between 5 to 10 partial reps. This is my last set, and I was actually really weak at that point, so I only did 5. I did 5 or 6. I would usually go for approximately anywhere between 5 and 10, depending on how much more energy my muscles had in them. This is really high volume, hitting only 1 minute, 20-25 reps. Really felt a good burn over there towards the end. And then we moved on to front raises, once again hitting high volume, 10 reps with each arm going on its own, and then 10 reps with 2 arms together. As you guys know, as I've probably said, shoulders are the weakest, my shoulders and arms are generally the weakest part of my body, and I'm really trying to bring them up, and that's why I hit them twice a week. Both my shoulders, my biceps, and all of them, my shoulders, my biceps, and my triceps. Really high volume, as I told you. I've got a very high portion of slow twitching fibers that require high volume, high tension, and just trying to really put them under that tension to get them going. As you see here, now we moved on to that 2 arms. You might kind of consider that I'm swinging them. Yeah, I am to a certain extent, because at that point I was in so much pain. I was gassed out completely. So that's the third of the 4 shoulder exercises, and then we move on to the last one, which will be a rear delt. So that's a rear delt fly, and at this point we're working approximately 15 reps for 5 sets, really high volume, only 30 seconds. And one thing to notice here is you should not keep your arms too straight. There should be a slight angle, as you can see. There's a very slight angle, and that's in order to kind of eliminate the traps from actually activating and kind of isolating and focusing on that rear delt. Of course, also you shouldn't let the movement get too long, because the longer you get the movement, and we make the movement, as in the more you close your arms, the less tension will be on your rear delt at all times. These are just a few tips that I've seen. So now moving on to the biceps. Here I'm doing some dumbbell curls, twisting dumbbell curls. If you can see, I'm really slowing down the movement. I'm really controlling the movement. I'm not letting the weights just fly about. This again increases time under tension. I work high volume, 12 reps per arm, 16 kilos. I could have gone higher, but I prefer to keep a good form, good slow range of motion. Feel that burn at all times. Squeeze my bicep at the top, and yeah, kind of like make sure that my bicep is activated at all times. It's like some significant other, like a significant number of other people. I also have some muscular dysmorphia, which means that my right side is actually a bit bigger than my left side in all my chest, my back, and my arms, and that's why I'm kind of using a lot of dumbbell work, and I'm doing kind of lower weight. But here I do move into a barbell, going approximately 35 kilos for, again, you see, slow range of motion, really contracting my muscles at the top just to feel that muscle working. Felt really good. The pump was not amazing, but it was still quite decent. I had only eaten like about 160 grams of carbs the whole day, but the pain was real. As you can see there, I am kind of grinding the last 3 or 4 reps because my arms are gassed out. So yeah, that's it really, and I'm hoping to see you in the next video. What's up, mi gente? I'm just here chilling outside my university because I took a sit down because I think it's biochemistry time. It's let's talk time about something that I believe is very important in fitness, and something that I said last night, and that was that whey protein is the most important source of protein, in my opinion, when you're cutting at least. And that's a big statement to make, because a lot of people have linked whey protein with supplements, and everybody's like, oh no, supplements are bad. In reality, whey protein is one of the most natural sources of protein. You can find it in yogurt, milk, cheese, cottage cheese, you may name it, any dairy product. Furthermore, whey protein is not something synthetic, is not something deadly, it's just literally a mixture of lactoglobulin proteins. It's just essentially a mixture that is found in milk, as I said, cheese and yogurt and anything, but it also can be found in a more concentrated form in supplements. So what am I trying to say here? I'm trying to say that essentially it might be, if you're trying to get a better dose of whey, it might be better to look at supplements. Anyway, let me talk about now why I said what I said yesterday about whey protein being the most important source of protein. The first reason is that everybody knows, everybody understands, and that's got to do with the fact that, you know, leucine is the amino acid that causes essentially muscle growth, muscle sparing, and stimulates protein synthesis, and it's the protein with the most leucine in its sequence. At 14% is beta-lactoglobulin, which is a predominant component of whey protein complex. Now, the second and third and fourth reasons, the next 3 reasons, have got to do with something called the TORC1 pathway. The second has got to do with gastrointestinal hormones, and the third has got to do with insulin levels. The second and third are actually related, so I'll start with the first, called the TORC1 pathway. The TORC1 pathway is essentially associated with cell regulation. Cell regulation is essentially when the cell tries to regulate the content of its proteins and cellular compartments in order to ensure healthy function. So what I mean by that, it's when essentially a protein goes wrong or a compartment in the cell gets damaged, the cell will try to degrade it to prevent damage into this whole cellular function. And also, if it lacks nutrients like glucose, energy, or amino acids, it will also try to degrade proteins in order to get the energy that it needs, which is what you get when you're essentially fasting, when you're kind of dieting down and you see muscle loss. It's associated with that pathway, also known as autophagy, which means that it's eating itself. So this pathway is actually regulated by a protein known as
TORC1, which in turn is regulated by a protein known as MAPK. When MAPK is active, it deactivates TORC1, and that causes the degradation of proteins and compartments. But if MAPK is deactivated, which is deactivated by glucose, leptin, energy, and energy I mean ATP, and amino acids, BCAAs to be specific, then the activation of MAPK allows TORC1 to function, and it spares all the proteins in the cell. Awesome. Now, when you're dieting and you're really low on glucose, especially towards the end of your diet, your leptin is to the ground, literally. We all know that. Your glucose is to the ground and your energy levels are to the ground, which means that that MAPK complex is functioning really high, causing degradation in your cells. So we want to stop that from happening, and if we cannot put up glucose, we cannot put up leptin, obviously, and energy, we're left with BCAAs. So either you're going to take a BCAA supplement, which is what a lot of people do, and I personally really believe in BCAAs as one of the best supplements out there. I am going to get a lot of crap for that, saying that, but that's my personal opinion from a biochemistry perspective. Doesn't mean I'm necessarily right, but that's at least what the opinion that I have formulated. And then the second way is whey protein. Whey protein, as I said, contains the highest content of BCAA from any other protein there is out there, and as a result, it will essentially hush down that degradation pathway to the largest extent, and as a result, save your muscles. That's the first reason why whey protein is more important than chicken, tuna, connective tissue proteins basically, or any vegetable proteins, which would not have this muscle sparing ability. Now the second and third reason are associated, they're kind of related. The first one is insulin increases associated with protein, and gastrointestinal hormones. And the reason why these are related is because they're both associated with kind of killing cravings and hunger. So when you're cutting, again, we know that you get a lot of cravings, you get very hungry, you kind of, really want to eat, go out and eat, like go grab some junk food or whatever, like just put up your carbs. And you're human, it's obviously you're gonna get temptations like that. But the thing is that happens because your leptin levels are down to the ground and your insulin levels are down to the ground. And one way you can actually battle this is by kind of essentially allowing for better regulation of insulin levels in your body. And everybody has associated insulin levels with carbs, glucose, sugars, whatever. But in reality, insulin levels can also be regulated by protein. And so a paper that I'm very happy to post down below, if anyone has disagrees with me or does not, what they want to kind of want further information, I'm very happy to post that below. And that paper said essentially that actually proteins, dietary proteins, including and most importantly dairy proteins, dairy whey proteins, cause the highest spikes in insulin and best regulation of insulin compared to glucose itself. And now what happens is essentially that when you get an insulin level, that kind of causes a hypothalamic essentially process that occurs in your hypothalamus, which causes cravings to die down. And of course, this insulin spike has been associated with specific amino acids, primarily being, surprise, surprise, BCAAs, and then also tryptophan and phenylalanine. And that's why, again, if you have BCAAs, you will notice that you don't feel as hungry. And secondly, if you have whey protein, you won't feel as hungry because these amino acids kind of give you a better insulin level and reduce your hunger. While BCAAs in chicken, beef, or albumin, basically eggs, and other proteins is not as high. And now the last thing that I believe you need to know about whey protein is got to do with gastrointestinal hormones. There are several gastrointestinal hormones. I'm not going to every single one of them because then we'd have to sit here for like another hour or so to talk about everything. But there's some hormones that are released in essentially your small intestine, kind of stomach area, which regulate your appetite. The reason why they're called orexigenic hormones comes from the Greek word orexi, which means appetite. And orexigenic hormones are essentially inhibited, they're put down, and putting down orexigenic hormones gives you a smaller appetite, which again is what you get with whey protein, because whey protein essentially inhibits amino acids and whey protein inhibit orexigenic hormones. So whey protein, as I said before, it doesn't only have to come from supplements. I personally take it from the whey scoop because it gives you a more concentrated supplement, a more concentrated dose. But I might I just might have like a yogurt or something once in a while. I personally don't like too much dairy product because they're too processed these days. Dairy products have been literally spiked with hormones, spiked with antibiotics, spiked with preservatives, and as a result, it does more harm, more damage than it does good to you. And there's some companies that start actually to make proteins in the lab, and therefore they're not preserved in any way, and they're cleaner than any other form of protein practically. So yeah, guys, this is the case I want to make for whey protein. If you disagree with me, it's more than acceptable. It's good. It's never good to take things for granted. So it's good to go do your own research if you want, read around. Please, if you want any help or any advice, please send me an email. I'm very happy to reply back for free. I'd really want to help. Part of me really, not part of me, but part of me that is in fitness wants to just make fitness a better thing for everyone, and for people to see what I see in fitness, and that is literally pushing yourself beyond your limits. So yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this clip. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you. Sorry, I'm back. Something I forgot to mention was that if you're looking to pick a protein at any point, if you're essentially, if you've made your diet and you essentially want to incorporate a good whey protein into your diet, I personally believe that you should be looking at something called the LC index. Essentially, the LC index is something that I've never seen it being used before, but I still don't want to take credit for it because it's very possible that someone else has come up with it before, or has been used several times before, because it's not something crazy. Essentially, what the LC index is I've made it for myself to use when I pick proteins, is essentially the ratio of BCAAs, the grams of BCAAs divided by the number of calories. In other words, it's the number of the grams of BCAAs per calorie. This is a very good representation of how good your protein will be when you're cutting, because we know that, as I just said before in that 10-minute segment, BCAAs, more specifically leucine, but of course also valine and isoleucine, there. Your anabolic proteins, they're anabolic amino acids. They're the amino acids that provide you with that post-meal satisfaction. And you do want these, but at the same time you want to have a minimal caloric intake in order to prevent your diet from going, over your daily calories. So yeah, basically, if you want to use that, use it. If you want any help, please send me an email. I would gladly help, for free. And of course, using that index, I personally found that the best proteins, at least for me to use, are the Cellucor Core Whey, Optimum Nutrition Gold Standard Whey, and the BSN Synthesis Edge. Yeah, those are the classic ones that everybody uses, but I personally found that these help me the most, and those agree the best with my analysis of what I believe is a good protein. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you soon.